Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great day today. In this video, we're going over all the news of the latest roadmap roundup. For the most part, this is only going to be confirming some of the leaks we have heard over the past few days for 4.2, but there is a little change to engineering on the progress tracker that is actually really important to point out. So make sure you stick around to the end to hear my reasons as to why I actually think we're getting engineering next month. Now, before we get started, if you are enjoying the content, feel free to stay up to date and subscribe. I have channel memberships open if you wanted to go the extra mile, and I'll have a link down below for the community Discord. I would absolutely love to have you there. With that out of the way, though, let's get into all of the news we got on 4.2. So, getting started, let's look at what is for sure coming in 4.2. First things first, it looks like we are actually getting multiple creatures for this patch instead of the original one that we thought before. Now, I suspect we know exactly what these are and why they're doing this. As we talked about in some previous videos, whatever's on screen here could certainly be one of the new creatures, but I'm almost absolutely positive that the other creatures are just the different size Valakar, so the Apex and the Adult. Now, this is nothing that's completely confirmed. There's a ton of things in the files that basically are, it's almost 100% that we are going to get these two Valakar sizes in this next patch, but technically we haven't seen any footage, so I'm not going to say that it's for sure or confirmed, but I certainly do think that the reason why they're saying creatures here is because we have the one new creature and then the two different sizes of the Valakar. Now, moving on a bit, we also have some info on the new locations we are getting. I'm going to say this is not the most important stuff as we already kind of know, as well have gotten some teases about this. So, these are the new ASD sites, which will be on Pyro 1 and Pyro 4. This is standing for Associated Science and Development, basically a company that I assume is just researching stuff in regards to, irradiated animals and whatnot. Not a ton of stuff we know about them quite yet, but we do know that these locations will be used for a lot of the sandbox activity as well as some new missions. So I think out of all things, I'm just excited to have some more locations in Pyro and hopefully have a sandbox activity that keeps us in Pyro for a long time. And I think these locations will probably be the center of all that. Now, moving on to the sandbox activity and some missions, I do not want to talk too much about the sandbox activity as we don't have a ton of official info, but I'm going to go ahead and put my bets down and just say that this is whenever we're going to see our first form of monster hunting. Now, of course, this is not officially confirmed yet, but simply based off of the previous data mines, there are just so many mentions of the Apex Valakar. There's sounds, there's quite literally a poster of it irradiated, spitting, radioactive saliva. There's just a ton of evidence to say that this thing will arrive in 4.2. Now, again, technically it's speculation, but I'm going to go ahead and say that the sandbox activity will probably have something to do with monster hunting. Now, moving on, we do have some of the new just regular missions as well. We have a new global event and a new defense space combat mission that are both slated to come in 4.2.x patch. So, not entirely sure when we'll get that, but I'm sure it'll be nice to have in game. I have a good feeling that this new global event will be the one like referring to the region crisis and you kind of teaming up with a corporation to kind of push it to a better place. Not entirely sure, but that's just my guesses. When it comes to the space combat mission, I'm excited to see what it is. I'm not going to lie, the ones that we have in game currently, as much as I do like them and they do bring some variety, they are a little bit repetitive just given the fact that, patrol missions, you don't have too many different options for what you could do. And then ambush missions are pretty similar across the board. So I do love those missions. I'm glad they're in, but I am excited to see if they are willing to expand these out a little bit more than they are now. Now, of course, we also have to mention the new Prism shotgun that is coming, the next Volt weapon in the lineup. As we have heard, this thing will pack a devastating punch, and though I've never been a huge fan of shotguns in Star Citizen, I am pretty pumped to try this one out. I'm kind of loving the Volt weapons so far. I know that they're a little bit weird on some of the hotter planets. It's really hard to use them because they overheat quickly, but I do love the idea of kind of using those in like colder environments and maybe ballistics in the hotter environments. It kind of just gives you a reason to think a little bit more about the decision. But regardless, I'm actually really loving this and I'm super excited to see this. Now, when it comes to vehicles, we do have some brand new Wicklow ships that will be hitting the Emporium sometime soon, as well as a brand new mech, that being the ATLS IKTI. Now, I'm going to go ahead and assume that just based off of what we've seen, this is going to go like any other ATLS that we've gotten before. I know there's probably a good chance we're going to be able to craft this with Wicklow, but it will probably be sold for Alien Week. There is a little like symbol on the side that I think is alien related. I am so out of the loop when it comes to alien lore and all that stuff for Star Citizen, so I'm gonna go ahead and say I have literally no idea, but this might just be the vehicle that was on the progress tracker. Not entirely sure, but regardless, it does look super sick, and I'm excited to try it out. Now, moving on to radiation, one of the bigger aspects of this new patch, it looks like this is going to be coming pretty filled out in the first implementation, so that's pretty exciting. We're going to have that with a Sterling exploration suit, which is going to help you withstand radiation, which I'm pretty excited for. And then, of course, this is going to affect different aspects of the game. I think it's going to be a big part of the sandbox activity, but we know that animals can get infected by radiation as well as our commodities. So it offers a pretty nice opening to some more gameplay, and I'm pretty excited about it overall. Now, alongside that Sterling exploration suit, we also have a new medium legendary utility armor. So that sounds pretty cool. I'm excited to see what that is, but that will be coming in a 4.2.x patch. So not on the initial release, though I am looking forward to seeing it. Now, one of the biggest aspects, if not the biggest for me personally, is dynamic rain is releasing with 4.2. Now, this is, kind of weird because we've already seen gameplay of, the storms with lightning. So maybe they're kind of just bunching up lightning with dynamic rain, but I'm not entirely sure in this instance. But regardless, it looks like this is just the first implementation, so it'll probably only be in some of these pyro locations. I hate to say it for all of you ArtCorp fans, but I do not think we're going to get any rain there quite yet. It looks amazing in that area, and we've seen it in all the trailers, but I think we will have to wait a little bit longer before we get that. Regardless, I cannot wait to see this, even if it's just a smaller implementation of the actual full dynamic weather system. And then the last thing for 4.2 is pretty simply just some new hairstyles. Nothing too exciting there, but it is what it is. I think it's nice that they're at least adding a little bit more customization options. Now, I wanted to move on here to the most exciting aspect of this new roadmap update. For me personally, that is actually the progress tracker. Now, I know, that's a kind of crazy thing to say. And before you head to the comments, let me just kind of explain my thinking as to why I even remotely trust the progress tracker. Now, in 2025, every single thing that they put on the progress tracker has released around the same exact time that the work for it is supposed to finish up. And by itself, that is a really solid thing. And I applaud CIG for actually putting things on the progress tracker that are actually going to release within a certain time frame. So I appreciate that by itself. Now, that also kind of helps us understand where some things are at. Now, initially, engineering and whatnot was slated for, I think, the end of May, and it just got pushed to, halfway through June, which is about, a 2 or 3 week push. And then FPS radar and scanning was, I think, at the end of May as well, and actually got pushed till the end of July. And that by itself gives us a lot more information than I think some people realize. At Con 42 last weekend with Jared and Thorsten, the main guy that's kind of worked a ton on engineering and a lot of that type of gameplay, they both answered a bunch of questions and they talked a bunch about engineering and a little bit about FPS radar and scanning. And I think they're very clear that these are both coming to the tech preview. They also joked about they already knew which one was supposed to come first. And I think they're quite literally telling us here in this progress tracker update. I think engineering will be in our hands in the tech preview by mid June ish, maybe a little bit later, and then FPS radar and scanning will follow around the end of July/early August. Now, again, this isn't confirmed, but let's just think about it for a second. I don't know why CIG would push back engineering only 2 weeks on the progress tracker if that didn't mean they didn't want to get it out within a very short time period. Of course, the progress tracker, they always talk about how, hey, once something is finished on the progress tracker doesn't mean it's going to get released. But again, given what they've been doing this whole year, I think it's a good potential that we do actually get this within the next month. Now, there are a couple things on the progress tracker like life support and charge and drain that are still slated till the end of May. I don't think that's actually going to happen. I think those will get pushed back next roadmap roundup, but I really do think that they are trying to get these in as soon as possible. And I think they're really trying to tell us something a lot more with how they kind of put things on the progress checker. Now, if that were to hold true for the rest of the year, we would have base building by the end of October and crafting by the end of August. Those are, not completely unrealistic, but it's almost hard to believe just because of how slow the first half of the year is. I'm not going to lie though, with how everything is looking, with what they've been talking about lately, I know we've had, all the controversy and whatnot, but I do think that the second half of 2025 is going to be a lot more exciting than the first half. And I hope you guys are excited as well to see things like engineering and FPS radar and scanning. I really do believe I'm betting on it right here now. You hear me here now first that we are going to get engineering in some way, shape, or form in the tech preview by end of June, early July. So that's my bet. Hopefully, I don't screw that up. But Regardless, again, thank you so much for sticking around and watching this video. I know it's a little bit longer for a roadmap update, but hey, I love talking about this stuff and I hope you guys enjoy listening as well. If you do, feel free to subscribe and sticking around. I always love to have you guys and join the community Discord. We have a ton of fun conversations in there just talking about Star Citizen and other games as well. But besides that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day and I will see you in the next video.